where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Yes, indeed. It's another edition of the 5-Pack right here on the Better Sports Network. We come at you each and every day from 12 to 1 o'clock, giving you the things that you need to care about, the things you need to get ready for. And also, we have fun with some old baseball, but also football and basketball trading cards. Today, we are on the baseball side again, a pack that we have never opened here on the 5-Pack. We've done a lot of Fleer baseball, admittedly. and shocker of shockers, I got more of these to come. 1990 Fleer baseball, by the way, if anybody's interested in just hunting down some old packs of cards, these things are literally everywhere. You can't throw a stone on the internet without hitting a pack of 1990 Fleer baseball. So we got more of those to come. But today, we go a year later. 1991 Fleer baseball is coming your way. I will warn you that this is a warning for everybody because this is coming up in about 40 minutes' time. This set is known as the Yellow Monster. As soon as I open the pack, you'll realize very quickly, while it's known as the Yellow Monster, the reason it's monstrous is it's another set of well over 700 cards. There are claims, I saw this on the internet, so it's got to be true. There are claims that over 33 million of each and every card were produced from this set. I don't know where that number comes from. I don't know how fact-based it is. But just the simple fact that there is a claim that each card from this set was produced and printed and cut at least 33 million times is damn impressive. When the world eventually runs out of paper or cardboard, we're going to know who to blame. These guys. 1991 Fleer baseball. So that'll be fun. We'll open up the Yellow Monster coming up a bit later in the show. But until then, we've got 5 things that matter today, and we got 5 things that will matter later today and into tonight. So let's get into the fun as we get rolling here on the 5-Pack. We start with the 5 things that will matter. Actually, 5 things that already matter. Come on, Kyle. Get it right. Get it right. We got to start in Boston, Massachusetts, where last night, I think it's fair to say that whether you're a Celtics fan or not, whether you were at the game or not, if you watched this game between the 76ers and the Celtics, you just felt like Boston never bothered to show up. A huge Game 5 in a series that was knotted up at 2 apiece. And here we go. Philadelphia takes another game at the Garden in Boston.
Into the second quarter, easily for Reed, tapped by House, picked up Harden. Shot clock is at 3, got the screen, makes the fake, fires the 3! Harden buries it from outside in a 10-point Philly lead. The bench right now, I don't know if he's back doing something with that knee. It's moving here, chiseling, Harden, smart there, and he gets it to go again. The crowd in full throat. Harden, House, Maxey, triple. What a big hit.
Ball movement, man movement.
What a hit by Tyrese Maxey.
Tucker is due for a corner 3.
It's Embiid, free to fire, drills it. Joel Embiid, 32 for the MVP. Harden with the nudge. Right between the eyes for Embiid. Horford will deny. Shot clock at 1. Great defense by Boston. Galloping Brown. Knocked away Embiid. What a block from behind.
Turns the basketball over, but gets on his horse for the chase down block. I mean, this is absolutely outstanding by the MVP.
Brown picks up the foul at the other end. He's got 5.
Not so fast, Jaylen Brown in Boston. Easy win for the 76ers. Highlights courtesy of TNT, 115-103. It wasn't so much Harden last night, like it has been in the other wins for Philadelphia in this series. It was more Embiid. 33 points for him. He tacked on 7 rebounds, had 4 blocks. You saw the big one there. But really, as well as the 76ers play, and they now lead that series 3-2, headed back to Philly, by the way, it's on Boston. Like, this game was just dead for the Celtics. And I mentioned this number, what was it? Maybe, I guess it was after the game 1 loss in this series, that Boston has been less than average in terms of defending their home court in the playoffs. They're like a 500 team at home over like the last 3 seasons. And they've had very good teams. But for whatever reason in the postseason, they've just struggled at home. And last night was more of that. You know, you think about home court advantage. You think, oh, we're shooting on the same baskets and bouncing the ball on the same court we've always bounced it on. Last night, the Celtics shot under 40%. They were out-rebounded by 13 boards. I'll tell you the big one. Jason Tatum on the surface, you say, wow, 36 points. You can't blame Jason Tatum for what happened. Well, hey, I like Tatum, 36 points. He played well. But think about this. The man scored 36 points in this game. His plus minus last night was still minus 26. So to put that in perspective, when Jason Tatum was on the court, and remember, he scored 36 points. I'm not even including the other points that his teammates scored, the other 4 guys on the court. Even with the 36 from Tatum, he was minus 26 when on the court. The Sixers outscored the Celtics by 26 points when Tatum was on the court. That's unheard of, to score 36 points, and yet you are still down minus 26. And they only lost by 12, but it was not that close. So the criticism here is fully on the Celtics. And it's very evident, and anybody who's watched Boston this year would say that. It's all about the threes. And there are a lot of teams like that in the NBA. You know, the Warriors, who we're going to see tonight against the Lakers, we'll be talking about them later in the show. They are driven by pumping it up from behind the arc. And when they miss from behind the arc, they struggle. And that's what the Celtics do. The difference is that there are teams that rely on the three-pointer just like Boston. But over the course of the season, Boston really struggles on 2 other aspects offensively. They do not take shots at the rim. And a lot of that is because, frankly, they don't have anybody that is an offensive threat in the paint. Like, take a look at Al Horford. He's the big guy. Al Horford last night took 7 shots. The big guy, the center, 7 shots. All 7 of them were from 3-point range. All 7 of them were misses. Boston doesn't get to the rim. They can't get to the rim. They did that all season. Additionally, when you're not getting to the rim, you're not getting to the free throw line. The Celtics are one of the worst teams in all the NBA at getting to the free throw line. So, hey, a lot of teams rely on the three-pointer. It's the NBA nowadays. But the Celtics don't really have a second option. Nobody plays the mid-range game. Celtics probably play it more than most, but they don't get to the rim. They don't have a threat down low, and they don't get to the free throw line. So you see it happen last night. They're not hitting threes. Next up is Thursday night, Game 6. Philadelphia can wipe the Celtics season out. That game is going to be at 7:30 tomorrow night. ESPN will have the coverage. Interestingly enough, the Celtics are favored in Game 6. Going on the road to Philadelphia. Right now, Boston listed as a 1.5 favorite. The series odds have Philadelphia at minus 195 and Boston at plus 160. Again, they'll get going tomorrow night with game number 6. Let's go to our second item from the sports world that matters today. And I'll tell you what, I'll admit, I am guilty as anybody is. Here on the 5-pack, when we talk the NHL playoffs, we have talked a ton about the Oilers. We've talked a lot about the Seattle Kraken. We talked a lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We focused on all these other teams and all these other series. Well, today, let's give a little love to Carolina and New Jersey. Did you even know that series was going on? I don't think I've mentioned the Hurricanes or the Devils more than once over the previous 3 weeks. But today I'm going to mention them because today I can tell you this. No matter who wins between the Devils and Carolina from game to game, there are always goals. We always get goals from this series. Last night, it was the Hurricanes' chance to pop the net against the Devils.
At a suddenly quiet Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Stahl. It ricochets out into the slot, and Pesce scores.
Stahl had created the rush. Jack Drury leaves it for Pesce. Pope.
A lot more life in the step of the Canes. Another free puck off a deflection. Chatfield, they're going to keep firing away, and they score. Foss
in front of Vanacek. He can't get to it. If that puck had come all the way through.
Foss in after it. His goal, his fourth of these playoffs from Martinook, who has another point. Burns scores.
The net. Hughes and Severson.
ESPN providing the highlights there. A 6-1 victory on the road by the Carolina Hurricanes. They now lead that best-of-7 series by a 3-1 edge. They will be back in Carolina for Game 5. Check out these finals. Last night was 6-1. The game before that, the Devils won. That was 8-4. Game 2 was a 6-1 Carolina win, and Game 1 was a 5-1. Carolina win. Carolina, by the way, let's add it up, has 21 goals in 4 games here. That is a big-time playoff number. 21 of them. And outside of the 8 that they gave up in Game 3, they've only allowed 3 other goals in the other 3 games for this series. Frederik Andersen back in net. He's looked good. It's kind of interesting when you look at Carolina. They've got a little bit of the Seattle thing going on. And by the way, Seattle losing last night to Dallas. But we've talked before about the Kraken where it's all hands on deck. They have a variety of different scores. Carolina, to an extent, has that going on as well. If you look at it right now, through 10 postseason games, they have 8 different skaters who have at least 3 goals. Sebastian Aho leads the way. He's got 5 goals, but they really spread it out. And believe it or not, if they take this next game against New Jersey, they will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. More than likely, they're going to be taking on the Florida Panthers. We could very likely see either Carolina or Florida in that Stanley Cup Finals. Nobody was really predicting that. Carolina has lost some offensive pieces even going into the playoffs. And a lot of people kind of push them to the curb. You know, when you ranked the best teams in the East coming into the playoffs, Carolina might have been 4th or 5th on that list. You know, Toronto would have been ahead of them. The Rangers would have been ahead of them. I mean, there are a variety of teams would have been ahead of Tampa Bay would have been ahead of them. Boston, for sure. So Carolina was the forgotten squad coming into this postseason, but now they are 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals, and more than likely, if they're taking on the Panthers, of course, they will have home ice advantage. Game 5 is tomorrow night. Carolina can end the series. They also get a longer rest if they finish off the Devils in 5 games. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock over on TNT. And again, the Hurricanes will then await the winner of Toronto and Florida. We'll be talking about that series coming up in just a bit. Let's move to our third item that matters today. Shall I give a little love to the Oakland A's? Yeah, I'm going to give some love to the Oakland A's. Now, admittedly, the A's lost again. They are now 8-29. 8-29. To put it in perspective, they are on pace for 36 wins this year. Let me say that again. The Oakland A's, after losing last night to New York 10-5, they are on pace for 36 wins all season. Some quick math would mean they would finish with a record of 36-126. Worst of all time, right? At least in the modern era. Now, you might say paces may, you know what? Wins and losses, especially when you're a team that's awful, the pace you are on early probably doesn't improve a whole lot. Like, let's say the A's somehow, some way win like 6 of 10 games. Okay, now they're on pace for 41 wins. Like, this is going to be a historically bad year. But even in historically bad seasons, you have moments. Moments that come out of nowhere and you say, wow, that team may have really sucked. But do you remember that one May evening in the Bronx when we got to see a guy by the name of Jordan Diaz do something that no Oakland A rookie had done since 1987? That is 36 years. For the first time in 36 years, we saw an A rookie do this.
Right-hander from the Dodgers.
Coming into deep left field. If it's fair, it's gone. It's hooking in the corner, and it is gone. A home run for Jordan Diaz, his second of the year, and it's now 5-2. What a shot.
Yes, it was.
Fourth inning. Abreu delivers. Could that be his second one? Going back, Cabrera at the wall, and it's gone. A home run for Diaz, his second of the game and his third of the year, and it's now 7-3.
Diaz, is it? Diaz? Yes, it is.
3-2. Fly ball to deep left center. Did he do it again? Cabrera going back, and it is gone. A two-run homer for Jordan Diaz, his third of the night. Wow. A three-homer night for Jordan Diaz. It's now 9-5.
They would still lose, again, 10-5. But Jordan Diaz, middle infielder who hits like seventh, had 3 home runs. Now, let's not get carried away. He's a average prospect. But the first time since 1987. So, yes, indeed, even when your team is brutally awful, and I think it's fair to say that the A's are brutally awful, they are the team that deserves that designation. There are still moments. Now, we'll see. Jordan Diaz, I'm not going to tell you if you're in a fantasy league, I don't really bother with Jordan Diaz. The one thing I will say, he's going to play every day. The team is so bad, he will play every single day. Why the heck not? But there's not a whole lot of excitement with the A's. Last night gave us a little. I will say one other thing to follow with Oakland this year outside of will they or won't they set like the all-time record for losses. They currently lead the American League in stolen bases. So they do like to run. Everybody likes a stolen base, right? Well, they run. They've got 39 steals on the season, tops in the American League. Let's go to item number 4 that matters. Might as well go to another prospect. We rarely get to show you minor league baseball highlights right here on the 5-pack, but I'm going to make an exception because last night in Louisville, Kentucky, we saw a guy that is a true high-end prospect. In fact, most people say he's top 10, top 5 in all of baseball. We saw this high-end prospect have really an advanced analytics historic game. Let's go to Louisville, AAA home of the Cincinnati Reds, and let's show you the night that infielder Elly De La Cruz had last night.
Here's the payoff. Down and in, ball 4.
All had very good series against Omaha. Here's a ball ripped down the left field line. That ball is fair and into the corner. Bouncing it on the board as Benson scores. De La Cruz hustling all the way is into second with a stand-up 2-base hit. But De La Cruz, his 5th double of the year, RBI number 10 for him. And the bats are on the board now, trailing 5-1 here in the bottom of the 3rd.
1-2 pitch. Swung on, hit high in the air to center. Back is Palacios, no chance, see you later. He hit it just to the left of the batter's eye, over the berm, a monster shot from Elly De La Cruz. That on that double, the hardest hit ball this year. He swings and launches a 1-0 pitch deep to center. Back is Palacios at the wall, leaps, it's gone. Home run, Elly De La Cruz, his 2nd of the night. Here's the 3-0. It's low, ball 4, and the Bats win. Robinson in from 3rd, and De La Cruz on a night when he's crushing the ball, works the walk-off walk. The Bats score 4 in the 9th to walk off with a 10-9 win.
Win for the Bats. Win for the Bats. Thank you to the Louisville Bats for providing the footage there. Now, okay, Elly De La Cruz, nice day. Why do we care? Why does it matter? I mean, hey, there's a lot of minor league games where a guy Gets a couple of walks, a double, a couple of home runs. That happens probably every night, right? Somewhere in the minor leagues. What's special about this, let's give you perspective. I said we had a historic advanced analytics night. The exit velocities on the double and the 2 home runs. The double's exit velocity was 118.8. The home run's exit velocity was 117.1. The other home run, its velocity was 116.6. So 3 hits last night, all of them over 116 miles an hour off the bat. Let me explain that to you. There's a lot of cool things going on here. First off, the 118.8, the double, that one didn't even leave the yard. The 118.8, nobody in AAA has hit the ball harder than that this year, but nobody in the majors has hit the ball harder than Elly De La Cruz did on that double. It's the hardest hit ball of the year. Additionally, no team in baseball ever, and I say ever, I think the advent of exit velocities and measuring them and trusting them goes back to about 2015. So as far back as we have records on exit velocity, no team in Major League Baseball history has ever had 3 balls in the same game be hit at over 116 miles an hour. Elly De La Cruz did that by himself last night. By himself. No team in baseball, since we started measuring this stuff, has had 3 balls like that in the single game. One dude did it last night in Louisville. And I've got one more MPH factoid to give you. Elly De La Cruz, mainly a shortstop, plays some third base too. Elly De La Cruz has the hardest thrown baseball of the season at 99.2 miles an hour from shortstop. 99.2. Guy's a freak, right? Here's the last 12 games for him. Remember, he's a high-end prospect. This guy, you're going to hear a lot about him. Last 12 games, he's hitting 357, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 5 homers, 13 ribbies, and a steal. Now, he's not the only Louisville bat killing it. There's another dude, Christian Encarnacion Strand, who, if you follow spring training, Christian Encarnacion Strand had a big spring training for Cincinnati, but he got hurt late, so he didn't make the team. Check out his AAA numbers. He's hitting 371 with a 400 OBP. His slugging is 742. He has 7 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 14 runs scored in 14 games. Now, Cincinnati is not a very good team. They're not as bad as Oakland, but the Cincinnati Reds, they're in a rebuild, right? These 2 guys, Elly De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, are huge to the growth of the Reds. Like Oakland, they're going nowhere. They don't have anybody like this. They don't have an Encarnacion Strand. They don't have a De La Cruz. They don't have either of these guys. And Cincinnati has more behind these guys. And, of course, we've seen Hunter Green. We've seen Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft. Cincinnati's got something. And last night with De La Cruz, we saw it. And we've been seeing it for the last couple of weeks with Encarnacion Strand. Now the question becomes, when do they get called up, right? Now it's May 10th. I wouldn't be surprised if Encarnacion Strand is called up before the end of this month. With De La Cruz, he's still pretty young. They might wait until midsummer for that call up. Our 5th and final item that matters today comes from the world of baseball. It's a follow-up to a story we warned you about yesterday. If you caught our 5 things that will matter on Tuesday, told you about Max Scherzer, and I said, Max Scherzer, he's got a sore upper back, but he's starting in Cincinnati. He's awesome at Great American Ballpark throughout his career. Let's see how he performs on Tuesday night against the Reds. Well, guess what? He didn't make the start. No. Max Scherzer was scratched with a sore neck. So I'm running out of all the issues we've had with Max Scherzer this year, but he's scratched with a sore neck, so he couldn't start. So David Peterson got the start instead against the Reds, and he didn't fare very well last night. Oh, maybe.
Because of the loft of the ball, he had to chase it the entire time.
Well hit by India to left field all the way to the wall. Maley around third. He chugs home. India the second base, a standing RBI double, 4-1 Reds. Friedel to right center. That gets down. Gathered on the track by Nimmo. Around third, Myers. He comes home. Newman sent home. Through to the plate. It gets by. Friedel turns, slams on the brakes. He drives in two. 6-1 Reds.
Reds go on for a 7-6 victory. Mets, by the way, are now 8.5 back, thanks to Bally Sports out of Ohio for the highlights there. So no Scherzer. Peterson didn't have it. Now, Scherzer says he's going to be back this weekend. We'll see. Today, the Mets are back on the field against the Reds. 6:40 first pitch. Justin Verlander making his second start. He will be against the phenom flamethrower, Hunter Green. So we'll see with Scherzer, but unable to make the start yesterday. It's just one of those years. And I always remind people of this. In sports, when it goes quick. And I'm not going to say it's gone for Max Scherzer, but this has been a very rough 6 to 8 weeks. Goes back to spring training. And all of his numbers are down, injuries, controversy, he's angry, the team isn't doing well. This is how the best laid plans fall off the rails. This is how it happens. Mets tonight trying to still catch up to the Braves. Again, 8.5 back. They're in third place in the NL East. My guess is Uncle Stevie not too happy as he writes those checks for the Mets. Those are the 5 things that matter today. When we return here on the Better Sports Network, the 5-pack continues with 5 things that will matter for today. We'll give you a preview of what you need to care about going into your Wednesday night. First, though, we've got to pile on more, right? Let's just pile on, Boston. Here's Mark talking more about kind of how it's rough right now to be a fan in Beantown.
How must you be feeling if you live in the city of Boston right now? Not only did the Bruins, who were historically great during the course of the regular season, get eliminated in the opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs by the Florida Panthers, led by Matthew Tkachuk. But now you look at the Boston Celtics, and they're on the verge of elimination, head back down to Philadelphia Thursday night for a Game 6, down 3-2 against the MVP, Joel Embiid, and the Beard, James Harden. No less add insult to injury, the former Celtic coach and Doc Rivers. I don't know what is going wrong with Boston right now, and I understand in Game 5 last night they did not hit their threes, and when they don't hit their threes, the Boston Celtics absolutely lose. You look at Joe Mazzulla, the rookie head coach in his early 30s. He clearly looks, inexperienced, and I'm not necessarily sure he can handle everything that's now facing the Boston Celtics, because not only do the Philadelphia 76ers have life, they've been the better team in this series. And if you're the Boston Celtics, how good you were during the regular season. I know you were not Milwaukee Buck good, but how good you were during the regular season to now have this scenario where you're facing elimination with the potential of not even making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA, my friends, that would be an unmitigated disaster. Check out the comments below for a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Welcome back to the 5-pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Yes, hail, hail. I refer to those who are lucky enough to be here on the 5-pack for this Wednesday. Kyle Elfrink back with you. We have given you the 5 things that matter right now. We're going to give you the 5 things that will matter in a bit. And still to come, we will rip open our 1991 Fleer baseball pack. It's funny, I was reading up on this set. Again, it's referred to as the Yellow Monster. And quite simply, I went to a couple of sites, baseball card, history stuff, kind of stuff. And they said there are no rookie cards of any interest in this set, which we've opened a lot of fairly crummy, 1988, 90, 92, 94 baseball packs here on the show. And there's always at least a rookie to kind of chase down. There isn't in Fleer 91. So I don't know what we're chasing down. I can't tell you one thing we're chasing down, and I'll explain this a bit more. They do have an insert in this set that, not that the inserts are worth much, but I would actually argue the inserts are pretty cool. Like, they're a good idea. They are called, you can see it on the front here, Provisions. I'll explain to you Provisions coming up in just a bit. But let's get to our 5 things that will matter tonight. And we'll start in the NBA, where we could have a couple of clinchers on our hand tonight. 7:30 in New York. We got the Knicks hosting Miami. A win by Miami, and that series is over. And then you go out west, 10 o'clock tonight. Golden State is the home team. They are taking on the LA Lakers. And a win there by the Lakers would clinch that series. Both Miami and LA were underdogs coming into their series. Both Miami and LA are up 3-1 right now as we get set for Game 5. Let's start with Miami, where we always hear, the regular season, it doesn't matter. The regular season is such a bore in the NBA. Guys don't even play. They said Eric Spoelstra, head coach of the Heat, would argue that in the case of Miami this year, the regular season set the stage for what we have seen from them in the playoffs.
But you just have to find different solutions, knowing that there's going to be, big challenges. You're just going to have to make effort plays. You're going to have to make the plays in between. And we were able to do that, tonight. I thought there was a lot of, free-flowing stuff in the first half, and then by the time we got to the fourth quarter, it was just a total grind, and we got the necessary stops. We got a bunch of clean looks in the fourth quarter. We just couldn't knock them down, but we were getting those extra possessions, and that certainly helped.
Knowing that each series is kind of its own life form and all of that, how much have you found yourself going back to various spots of the regular season and saying you've had to win games when shots weren't falling, when it wasn't always pretty offensively? There were so many things that you can pull from
1,000%. I think that we found the value in the grind of a regular season and a grind in the struggle, and I've said that repeatedly. We found a beauty in that struggle. But without that struggle, where we didn't have to find different solutions to win and different guys stepping up so that they had the confidence, for these kind of moments. If we didn't have the regular season, then you have zero chance to be able to do that in the playoffs. There was nothing easy about the regular season. There's nothing easy about this postseason.
Game 5 tonight again in New York. That's 7:30 on TNT. Knicks are favored in this game by 4.5. Miami, though, still a very heavy series favorite. Again, they're up 3-1. They are minus 800 to take care of business against the Knicks at some point. Knicks would be plus 550 to come back. Let's move to the other Game 5 tonight. That's the Golden State Warriors hosting the LA Lakers. Lakers can finish off the Warriors with a win tonight. One of the key storylines in this series for Golden State has been a lack of Jordan Poole. They just aren't getting enough from, in effect, the third option on offense. They love to go to Curry. They love to go to Thompson. Jordan Poole has been a very important third option this year, but he has not really shown up in the first 4 games. Steve Kerr, his head coach, talked about the emphasis on getting Poole ready to go tonight.
Every series, there's players who, go through struggles. I went through them as a player. Things don't go your way. Maybe the playing time doesn't come. Maybe you get in a shooting slump. So my experience is you jump right back into it and you let her rip. Like you can't get tentative. You get out there and you be yourself. And you easier said than done. But there's sort of an emotional breakthrough that you can have. It's part of the process of becoming, an NBA player, is the ability to recognize, hey, this is happening. This is real, and I got to get through this.
See if Jordan Poole can find that moment tonight in Game 5. Should note that Golden State is a fairly significant favorite to force a 6 game. They were a 7-point pick for the 10 o'clock tip. Again, both these games, the Knicks and the Heat, Lakers and the Warriors, will be on TNT, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. And I mentioned the series odds. Now recall, both these series are 3-1, but they are not the same odds. Miami right now is minus 800 to win their series. The Lakers are only minus 450 to win their series. So a lot more faith in the Heat avoiding history, finishing off the Knicks, than there is of the Lakers putting that dagger through the heart of the Warriors. But both those games tonight, a couple of clinching possibilities there in the NBA. Let's move to item number 2, what will matter tonight. We've got a clinching possibility in the NHL playoffs. Tonight, wonder of wonders, the Florida Panthers may sweep the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 4 down in South Florida. One of the hugest storylines here has been the fact that through 3 games, Toronto has a grand total of 0 goals from Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and William Nylander. 4 goals. Those are probably their 4 biggest offensive contributors in each and every game. Getting those guys going is the key to the Maple Leafs. Thus far, nothing. No goals for those guys in the 3 games. Matthew Tkachuk on the Panthers was asked about shutting down the Big 4 with the Maple Leafs.
I haven't scored either, so I don't know what the big deal is about. It's not about individuals here. It's not about personal stats. I mean, I can't speak for them. I know those guys know them very well. They're very, very, very dangerous players and have been their whole careers. So some guys that we really got to keep an eye on and try to limit as much as possible.
7 o'clock on ESPN tonight for that 4th game from down in Florida. Now, I will say, Toronto certainly has the deck stacked against them, but it is not impossible in the NHL playoffs to come back from 3-0. The last team to do it was the Kings. That was in 2014. 5 teams overall have come back from 3-0 deficits. So not probable, but not impossible either. In fact, tonight, if you look at just the money line, like straight up who's going to win, Toronto's actually favored to win tonight. Minus 120 is where that money line is at. Panthers are even money. Maple Leafs do have a new netminder increase. Joseph Woll is going to fill in tonight. Ilya Samsonov, the usual starter, is injured. So they're going to turn to the rookie, Joseph Woll. So he's in net for game 4. Mentioned the Maple Leafs are actually a money line favorite to win tonight. Florida has never swept a postseason series. So it would be a first for them. Drop of the puck, 7 o'clock tonight over on ESPN. Let's move to our third item that matters. And maybe this is something that matters mostly to me. But we still have a guy in Major League Baseball who is hitting over 400. So here we are, May 10th, by the way. And we still have a guy who's hitting over 400. That man is a guy we've talked about before, Luis Arraez. Now, coming up later today, Arizona is going to be hosting by the Miami Marlins and Luis Arraez. Arraez expected to be in that lineup. Luis Arraez enters today with a 12-game hitting streak. Now, I'm going to try to convince you how difficult it is to hit 400 over the course of a Major League Baseball season. Think about this. Luis Arraez, infielder for the Marlins, has a 12-game hitting streak. He's still hitting over 400. During this 12-game hitting streak by Luis Arraez, his batting average for the year has actually fallen. It's actually dropped. He's got a 12-game hitting streak, and his batting average has dropped 13 points. He's hitting 408 coming into today's action against Merrill Kelly and the Diamondbacks. So again, I'm trying to convince you how tough it is to hit over 400 for a year. I mean, we're just, 5-6 weeks into the season. The last guy to hit 400, it's been, 75 years or so since Ted Williams did it. So I'm not predicting Luis Arraez to do this. But if he goes 0 for 3, the hitting streak would be over and he would drop under 400. So that's what's on the line for Luis Arraez. Now, of course, in today's day and age, we can wager on these kind of things. If you want to go down for Luis Arraez to have at least one single today against the Diamondbacks. You're looking at minus 180 on the odds. If you want him at over 1.5 total bases, plus 185 there. So if you feel there are 2 singles, or maybe even a double for Luis Arraez, you win back some good money today. Plus 185. Again, that matchup against Arizona. First pitch is 3:40. Edward Cabrera going up against Merrill Kelly. And we'll see if our man Luis Arraez can keep that batting average north of 400. Elsewhere this afternoon, we got a lot of daytime action, by the way, in Major League Baseball. We don't often get this, but I did want to spotlight this. A couple of old, crafty lefties. As I've noted before, only left-handers can be crafty. And usually you can only be a crafty left-hander if you're old. Today in Milwaukee, we've got 2 long-in-the-tooth lefties squaring off. It'll be Clayton Kershaw up against Wade Miley. Now, anytime I say the name Clayton Kershaw, you probably think Hall of Famer. When I say the name Wade Miley, you think average pitcher. You maybe don't even give him that much credit. It's very interesting. We got a 35-year-old Kershaw. We have a 36-year-old Miley. Both these guys are lifers. Now, one guy is an all-time great. The other guy is just your average major league pitcher. Check out some of these numbers I dug up, proving that there is more than one way to go about your Major League Baseball career. Clayton Kershaw is making his 406th start today. Wade Miley is making his 292nd. Clayton Kershaw has been with one team for 16 seasons. Wade Miley is currently on his 8th team in his 13th season. Wade Miley has never had a K rate better than 8.2 per 9 innings. Clayton Kershaw has never had a K rate worse than 8.4 per 9 innings. I will say I was surprised, and you may be surprised by this. Since 2018, so we're talking 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, now 23, a lot of pitching. Wade Miley's got a 3.4 ERA. That's good. That's good. Now, Clayton Kershaw's at 2.8, but proving again, there's more than one way to skin a cat, to go through a major league career. Both these guys on the back ends of their career, both guys have been with us a long time. We'll get to see them square off today. Should note for the Brewers, I wouldn't expect a lot of excitement from their offense. If you take away Christian Yelich, and he'll probably be leading off for the Brewers, but every other Brewer hitter that they have on the roster, not just in the lineup, but every other Brewer hitter on this current roster is a combined 1 for 37 in their career against Clayton Kershaw. 1 for 37. Of those 36 outs, 23 of them have been via strikeouts. 140 this afternoon for Kershaw and Miley. Not every day you get the old crafty lefty on one side and the old crafty lefty on the other side. So maybe enjoy that. Finally, we get to our 5th item that will matter. And I'm kind of cheating here. We got some news yesterday. We may get some news today. And we'll get a lot of news tomorrow. But hey, it's the NFL. So I got to give some love to the NFL. Maybe, oh maybe, today we will get some more 2023 NFL schedule leaks. Tomorrow's the big day. I think it's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. We'll talk more about this on the 5-pack on Thursday. But tomorrow we'll get the big release. Every team, who are they playing? When are they playing? As you can see, yesterday we actually got a few drops. Black Friday football. Yes, that is a thing. For the first time ever, they'll be playing on the Friday after Thanksgiving. I don't know. Why not? Dolphins, Jets. So Aaron Rodgers on Black Friday. Why the hell not? So that's one game we learned about yesterday. Christmas Day, Giants, Eagles. We learned about that one. Monday afternoon on Christmas Day. We also got news on New Year's Eve. The Chiefs and the Bengals. That'll be a fun one. I think that game is in Kansas City, week 17. So we did get a few drops yesterday. Maybe we'll get some more today. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a Thanksgiving Day. Maybe we'll get the Thursday night opener. But we'll see. The whole schedule comes out tomorrow night. So no matter if you're a Panthers fan or a Vikings fan or a Seahawks fan, you'll see the whole schedule. We already know who's playing. We just don't know the order of these games. We also got the European games yesterday. Jacksonville's going to play 2 games in London on back-to-back weeks, week 4 and 5. In week 4, they're taking on Atlanta. In week 5, they're taking on Jacksonville. So that's what you got. Let's see other games. Let's see. Weeks 4, 5, and 6 are all London games. Atlanta, Jacksonville, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Baltimore, Tennessee in week 6. And then we have a 4th and 5th game in Europe coming up next year. Week 9, the Dolphins are in Kansas City, or excuse me, the Dolphins are against Kansas City in Frankfurt, Germany. That's a far leap from Kansas City. And then in week 10, Indianapolis and New England, also in Frankfurt. So a little bit of the schedule is out. We'll see if we get more today. We're going to get a lot tomorrow night. Okay, take a breather here on the 5-pack. When we return, we've given you 5 things that matter right now. We've previewed 5 things that will matter. Next up, the Yellow Monster. You didn't even know it was called the Yellow Monster. Now you know. When your friends are talking about the 1991 Fleer baseball set, you can go, oh yeah, the Yellow Monster. We'll take a look at the Yellow Monster. You'll find out very quickly why it's called the Yellow Monster. After this on the Better Sports Network.
Can the Leafs avoid elimination, or will the Panthers sweep their division rivals? We'll find out tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, but it's tough to pick against Florida right now. That was as demoralizing a loss as Toronto could possibly have in Game 3, and now Ilya Samsonov is injured. Joseph Woll will get the start in net in an elimination game. He has potential, but keeping Toronto's season alive with how well Florida is playing, that's a tall order. I think Florida finishes them off, so take them at plus 105. In the late game, Vegas has a chance to go up 3-1 on the Oilers. The Oilers are big favorites at home, but minus 185, that's just way too big a number to play. If I play anything in this game, I'm going to lay the goal and a half at plus 125 for the Edmonton Oilers. Aiden Hill's expected to get the start in net for Vegas. He was really good in relief the other night, so it's possible we get burned there, but I think you got to take a shot here against Aiden Hill. He's a backup for a reason. Be sure to check out the comments below for a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Time now for the Daily Pack Rip on the 5-pack with Kyle Elfrink.
Big thanks to Jared Moore for giving us his thoughts on the 2 games taking place tonight in the NHL. Reminder, as we get ready for this pack rip, that you can be the proud owner of this Michael Jordan Upper Deck All-Star Checklist from the 1992 set. This sucker's actually worth some money. We will be giving it away on Friday. How can you qualify to perhaps win this for totally free? Just give us a retweet of our pack rip. We're going to do the pack rip right now. You'll see it on Twitter. At Better Network, give us a retweet, and you will be entered into winning this prize, if you want to call it. Yeah, it's a prize. We opened this in another pack, so we've pulled some of the nicer cards that we've pulled from packs, and we're going to give them away. A gift to you, the BSN subscribers. So we'll do that coming up on Friday. Again, just retweet our pack rip, and you are good to go. Okay, today we're ripping over in some 1991 Fleer baseball. This is actually waxy. Now, I noted this earlier, a couple of things. First off, there's literally nothing in this set that's worth much money. I mean, it's a crappy set, no rookies, no nothing like that. As always, Ken Griffey Jr., it's like year number 2 of Griffey, but his cards are still worth something. So, maybe your superstars, you get like $1, maybe $2. If you grade it to a 10, you can get $30-40. But overall, one of the coolest things about this set is down in the corner, the Provisions. Now, what Provisions was kind of the answer to Dunrus's Diamond Kings. We've seen the Diamond Kings before, and if you know anything about card collecting, or you were somebody who collected cards back in the late 80s or mid 80s, Dunrus always did Diamond Kings. They were kind of these artistic drawings, paintings, what you will, of some of the best players in baseball. Well, what Fleer did is they said, hey, we're going to get into this game. We're going to do some inserts. We'll call them Provisions. And what they did, and I don't know if we'll get one in here. Hopefully we do. But they chose like 12 to 15 players from 1991, and they created almost comic book editions of those players with their cards. And they did plays off of the nickname of the player. So, for instance, if Dave Parker had been a part of this set, he isn't, but if he was the Cobra. So you'd have Dave Parker, and there'd probably be some image of a, cobra ready to devour you. So that was the Provision set. Kind of a neat thing. They only did like 12 players, and the art was really good on them. You can look them up online. Kind of fun to take a look at those Provisions. Of course, Fleer was very popular throughout the 90s and even in the 80s for the team logo stickers, and how convenient. As I open this pack in St. Louis, I yank out a St. Louis Cardinals team logo sticker. Kind of cool. You just rip these off. You stick it on your lapel. Also, see, this is something I miss from nowadays. I can't get a pack for $1.25 anymore. I got to pay like $8 a pack of cards. But also the pack of cards nowadays, history. What is history? Why would I care about history? Well, you'd care about it because if you're going to become a fan of the sport, you should know the history of the sport. For instance, back in 1991, when you got a team logo sticker of the St. Louis Cardinals, they would then give you all sorts of interesting Cardinal franchise statistics. The all-time leader in home runs, Stan Musial, 475. The all-time leader in batting average, Roger Hornsby, 359. All-time leader in ERA, John Tudor. Who'd have guessed that? 254. Gibby, Bob Gibson, 251 victories. So you'd learn something when you yanked out the cards. Still like that old Cardinals insignia. Okay, let's get to the Yellow Monster. I told you we'd find out very quickly why it's called the Yellow Monster. Here, folks, is why the 1991 Fleer set is known as the Yellow Monster. Nothing but yellow. Right? Nothing but yellow. Ugh. A lot of these other sets, like yesterday, we opened 88 Score, and they had yellow cards, but they also had red, purple, and blue, and green. Fleer just went all in on yellow, and I don't know why they chose yellow, but they went all in. Now, there's a Dunris set. I may have it floating around here. I think Dunris in like 90, 91, they went all red. So maybe Fleer just got lazy and said, let's do what they're doing. So these are all yellow, and you're going to be yellowed out by the end of things. I can't tell you a damn thing about our first card. Randy Kutcher, outfielder for the Red Sox, Randy Kutcher. Now, what's rare about this card is, think about this, folks. This is a set from 32 years ago. There are probably 4 or 5 ballparks that you will see in the background of these cards that are still being, still hosting games. Here's one of them. That's the Oakland Coliseum. Randy Kutcher taking his cuts at the Oakland Coliseum. I can say Randy Kutcher looks like a country music star. Got a little, what would you say, Tim McGraw in him, Randy Kutcher. I guess he's also cool enough to be card number 100. Now, you'll notice Fleer, they stuck on all the stats. What was it? A couple of days ago, we did Fleer Ultra, and I kind of complained. They stopped doing all the stats. You get just the previous year. Here, even Randy Kutcher, you get the entire run-through of Randy Kutcher, dating back to 1981 in Shreveport. Luis Salazar of the Chicago Cubs. There's another ballpark, Wrigley Field, that we still play baseball at. Salazar was, 4th, 5th outfielder for the Cubbies. Kind of looks like a player, though. He's got that follow-through. Here's one of the best closers of all times. Yesterday on the show, we were talking about the possibility of Kenley Jansen getting to 400 saves. He didn't last night. The Red Sox lost. But if he gets his 400th save, he eventually will. He will join a club that includes only 6 pitchers in the history of baseball to get to 400 saves. And here's one of them. Lee Smith, pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals. Big Lee Smith. Lee Smith, for many of us, was most famous for taking his time, leaving the bullpen, and casually strolling to the mound. Lee Smith would not survive with a pitch clock, nor with a clock between innings or between pitching changes. Lee Smith liked to take his time. Always took his time, leaving the bullpen. And then he'd set him down 1, 2, 3 to get the save. Colby Ward of the Cleveland Indians at the time. I am probably the only person on May 10th, 2023 even thinking about Colby Ward. I'm guessing there's not another baseball fan anywhere who's thinking about this guy right now, but we are. on the 5-pack. Another Cardinal pitcher. I said this before. Cardinals weren't very good in the 89 to 93 range. Bob Tewksbury was like the ace of the Cardinals. Bob Tewksbury was a soft-throwing, very quick-working right-hander. He would survive with a pitch clock. In fact, he would have all of his pitches off by the 10-second mark on today's pitch clock. But Bob Tewksbury, pretty good pitcher. Kind of bounced along, was a Yankee farmhand, ended up with the Cardinals. Decent pitcher back in the day. Had 3 or 4 good years. Became, I believe, a pitching coach. He wrote a book on like the thinking man's, kind of the, I guess you would call it the mental aspect of being a baseball player, which was a very popular book, for people who are into that. We talk so much about the physical side. He wrote a book about the mental side. Here's a guy who won the AL MVP in, I believe, 1987 or 88, George Bell of the Toronto Blue Jays, who eventually you would get cards where he changed his name to Jorge Bell, or maybe that was early on. He was Jorge, and then he just became good old George. But he used to be Jorge. Here he is George, George. But he couldn't really figure out if he wanted to be Jorge or George. Ray Searage, who became a pitching coach with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ray Searage is much more famous as a pitching coach than he ever was as a pitcher, which it begs the question, why is he it looks like he's going to throw the ball towards the camera almost. Staring at the camera, and it kind of looks like, I don't know if that's a pickoff move or what. But kind of interesting how his body is turned there. Here is a man making his way to San Diego in 1990, Joe Carter, a hero with the Toronto Blue Jays. He signed with the Padres in the 1990 offseason. So this would have been his first year with San Diego. In that first year, not a good one. He hit 232. I shouldn't say not a good one. Batting average sucked. How about that? 232 batting average, but he did have 24 home runs and 115 RBIs. He had 35 home runs his last year in Toronto. George Carter got a big contract to join the San Diego Padres. My God, this is a classic. Hey, we may be making fun of the yellow monster, but if somebody asked you, hey, man, why was Darryl Strawberry so cool? Why do I, first off, people, well, his name, Strawberry. Secondly, they'd grab this card. Like, that is a perfect shot of Darryl Strawberry. I believe this is at the 1990 All-Star Home Run Derby at Wrigley Field. And that there is classic Strawberry. So that's what makes Darryl Strawberry so cool. I like that one. Jay Buhner of the Seattle Mariners. He was kind of the lesser hitter of the great trio they had there. They had Griffey Jr., they have Edgar Martinez, and then Jay Buhner was a monster as well. He was kind of the third option there. Sean Bosky of the Chicago Cubs. He hung around with the team for a bit. Dave Anderson, as you can tell at the bottom of the card, just an infielder, playing first base there for the Giants. Then we get to Glenn Braggs. I'm laughing at this card because Glenn Braggs appears to be swinging at the ball, but he's staring at the third base coach. And is that, check this out. I can't really tell. Is that a base? No, that's the outside of his batting glove. Glenn Braggs, outfielder. That's a weird looking angle. Like, seriously, he's looking at the coach, but the bat is still in the process of swinging. Maybe he had foul tipped it. Who knows? Finally, wow, and this is a cool action photo. We don't get this kind of action photo very often. Steve Lake commencing with the rundown between third base and home plate. There it is, the yellow monster. 91 Fleer. We'll see you tomorrow.